Tennessee picks up a commitment. Why, what the H? It's because it's kind of a weird one. Caleb, what can you tell us about Tennessee's newest 3-star defensive back commitment from Wisconsin? I don't think that I've ever spoken that series of words all at once.
This is not, I mean, this is bizarre, but it's also a recruiting earthquake. And it shows that Tennessee is making inroads everywhere. Tennessee picked up a defensive back, Tre Poteat from Wisconsin. He's a 3-star, by and large a 3-star, but some services do have him as a 4-star, specifically a cornerback at 6 feet, 175 pounds from Verona Area High School in Dane County. For those who don't know, Dane County is where Madison is. Madison is where the University of Wisconsin is. The University of Wisconsin really wanted this kid. They wanted him badly, and Tennessee plucked him out. The reason that stands out to me is you're a defensive back. Defensive back is the one position that's not attractive to play for Tennessee, right?
Sounds horrible to play for Tennessee because you're constantly chasing dudes around because other teams are trying to come back because they're down 35-0 in the middle of the second quarter. Sounds horrible.
Exactly. You have in your backyard, in your home county, another team that wants you just as much, whose head coach is the gold standard for defensive coaches in college football right now. And Luke Fickell built everything around his defense where you could thrive. And you choose Tennessee. Now,
I'm going to tell you why in a second. Go ahead.
The only thing I could go with is there's some intel that I don't have that Tennessee may actually that from what I'm thinking, that Tennessee is going to be such a national brand and about it, like right now, that people from everywhere would prefer to play for Tennessee, even if their homeschool system is better for them.
Yes. I'm going to tell you the other reason why a defensive back from Wisconsin would want to play for Tennessee. And we're represented by Banks and Jones. Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks and Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks and Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks and Jones. T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com. I'm going to tell you why right now. It's exciting. It's marketing. And that is what Tennessee has marketed itself as on defense. They've marketed themselves as the 85 Bears. Exciting, aggressive. Have they had that sort of success? No. But I'll tell you why a 3-star from Wisconsin, who the Badgers really wanted, ended up at Tennessee. It's because Tennessee has done a fantastic job of marketing its defense to prospective athletes. I mean, why in the world did they get James Pierce? I mean, why in the world had they gotten some other talented players? There haven't been enough, I'll give you that, but there are clearly some special players. Arian Carter, I think, is a special player. I think Elijah Simmons is special when healthy. Saw Keenan Pili hitting golf balls the other day. I think he's going to be really good, but that's not a good example. Anyway, point being, Caleb, they have marketed themselves as an aggressive, fun defense to play for. Now, are you going back if you're a prospect, if you're a 17-year-old and watching every game? Probably not. But if you go back and you watch the exciting games, which are the ones that Tennessee won most of the time, then you're like, oh, this is an exciting defense. We'll see how it shapes up this year. And the other thing, other than marketing, is there's all kinds of opportunity in Tennessee's defensive backfield. But that's why it makes sense. The thing you said about not playing for Wisconsin and a defensive-minded staff is the one that stood out to me. Because if I'm a 3-star guy, which is average talent, I want to go to the best. I'm going to Alabama if they would take me under Nick Saban back in the day. Does that make sense?
Right.
I'm going to go to the best. I'm going to go to the best defensive backs coach. Just like if I'm a quarterback, I'm going to go where David Cutcliffe used to be.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's why I would have thought Wisconsin over Tennessee in this situation, just because Luke Fickell is a guy that you might even take a discount to play for Luke Fickell because he's such a good defensive coach.
That
And by the way,
that was my point. And I'm also impressed, really impressed, more than the market. And I'm sorry to interrupt, by the fact that they even know that there's a dude in Wisconsin. I mean, that's not a recruiting hotbed.
Yeah, and Iowa State wanted him, and Michigan wanted him too. I think Michigan targeting him made him more national. I don't know how much Michigan wanted him. That's why I didn't mention. You know when you know this in recruiting, Dave. When schools like to be like Tennessee beat out Alabama and Georgia, it's like, okay, but the question is how much Alabama and Georgia really wanted. Like they may have offered, but they didn't. How much time did they spend? I don't think Michigan spent a lot of time on this kid, but I think it's a big pickup, and I think you're right with marketing. But I still think even with marketing and in the fun offense, that can be very unattractive to defensive backs. Dave, you covered Tennessee in the late 90s when John Chavis' system was all conducive to the defensive ends and linebackers. It was not an attractive place for cornerbacks, specifically cornerbacks. Did not really want to go to Tennessee.
Kelvin, here's the other thing to remember is if Tennessee decides, it's not like it used to be. If Tennessee decides they don't want him and he is a 3-star guy, he's not a Boo Carter, a 4-star defensive back who you get super excited about. If they don't like him, Caleb, they can just boot him.
But why? That's the point. Why would he have picked Tennessee? What is it about Tennessee? And my thing is because, he's not. Boo Carter's going to play safety. In an aggressive defense, is it fair to say safety is more attractive than cornerback? Because you get a lot of chances at interceptions. And
I don't think so.
You don't think safety is more attractive than cornerback?
I'd rather play corners, more money. I mean, personally.
Well, I just think of I think again the 90s defenses with Tennessee were aggressive with Chavis, and it seemed like the safeties turned out to be bigger stars than the cornerbacks most of the time when they were there.
Yeah, and Kyle's exactly right. Not every 3-star guy turns out to be a 3-star guy. I completely agree with that. I'm not throwing any shade on this commitment, nor a young man. Don't worry about that, Kyle. I can promise you that.
Well, and also not only that, you have to look at if someone's a 3-star from certain areas, they could be more highly rated because there's not a lot of recruiting coverage in those areas. Funny enough, the state of Wisconsin, this must have been about 5 years ago, had the most players in the Super Bowl, and so just that kind of intriguing.
That is just an absolutely bizarre coincidence.
Right? It's so crazy.
There's no way.
Here's why.
There's no reason.
The offensive lineman. Wisconsin produces the best offensive line in the country every year.
That's a crazy coincidence is what that is. The SEC produces the best offensive lineman.
No, actually, Iowa and Wisconsin have
Oh, no. I'll take Georgia. Okay, anyway. Hemp House, the premier hemp
numbers back me up.
Online with a wide variety, great selection, and strict standards to ensure you only receive the best in CBD or Delta products. Go to hemphousechatwith2ts.com, hemphousechatwith2ts.com. Use the promo code HOOKED for 10% off, HOOKED for 10% off. I'll always let you have the final word. Caleb, so what were you going to say on What the H, brought to you by the Hemp House, hemphousechatwith2ts.com?
Oh, in general, I was just going to say Wisconsin and Iowa, the schools do produce the best offensive linemen. That's borne out in data. But I would say that with this kid, I think if you look at his tape, he's very physical, which you would like. The good news is he recovers fast if he plays bump and run. The bad news is you don't know how that's so relative because it's very easy to recover fast at a high school level if you're playing at lower level competition, isn't it? It's very easy to play aggressive and recover as a cornerback.
Well, it's difficult of a lot of these guys. I mean, when you play at a lower level of competition, it's constantly going to be a challenge to evaluate this guy. So that's why you have to trust Tennessee's coaches. But again, people might get upset about a 3-star. By the way, have you ever wondered why nobody ever takes a 2-star? Huh? It's because 3-star is kind of as low.
Cedric Tillman was a 2-star.
That's not right. He's a 3-star.
On Rivals, he was a 2-star.
Oh, okay.
I would put Rivals back then.
I didn't even know there was
Wasn't
2-stars.
A.T. Johnson a 2-star?
I didn't even know there was 2-stars, so you proved me right or wrong. You proved but when I look at a 3-star guy, I can name a lot of guys that have overcome. So it's about him getting on campus, him making that move. There's nothing wrong with taking a 3-star guy, especially in this day and age where you can just say, sorry, this isn't working out. Coming up, Greg McElroy.
And winning these recruiting battles, just real quick, winning these recruiting battles is why they keep Willie Martinez on staff.
Because they can overcome His lack of coaching ability? Is that what you're getting at?
Yes. I think Willie Martinez can land. Tennessee should not have beaten out Wisconsin for this kid. Wisconsin has a better defensive system, and Wisconsin really wanted him.
Well, that's a little too simplistic. What if he wanted to play for championships? Like me, what would be your we got to move on, but what would be your three primary factors if you were a 17-year-old choosing a college?
Get me to the NFL, number one, which Wisconsin would be more conducive for that because of the system they do.
Mm-hmm.
Probably NIL, then play for championships. And then hometown.
Mine is mine would be, it would depend if I'd won a high school championship. I mean, everybody wants to win a championship, right? So mine would be really close coin flip NFL championship, and then NIL I think is going to be structured soon. That's not going to matter. You're going to Caleb Calhoun is going to be Caleb Calhoun is going to be deemed a 4-star defensive back, so he is going to be slotted to make X. But so that's not going to be a factor anymore.
You and I both know most of these kids are looking to get to the NFL, though, more than anything. That's at championships, yes, but the generational wealth of the NFL.
No, I didn't ask what the kids were doing. I just asked what you would do. No, the kids, every kid thinks he's already in the NFL. Like he's just going to skip college. You're right about that. It's funny how we don't even say facilities or on TV. It's how old I am.